Wow, New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara abruptly left practice. He's demanding a brand new contract. Is Alvin Kamara's time with the Saints finally over? Will another playmaker from the Sean Payton era bite the dust like Michael Thomas? We're going to break down this situation, plus Derek Carr's recent comments about the New Orleans Saints offense this year. Last season, the New Orleans Saints head coach Dennis Allen and new quarterback Derek Carr had to deal with some pushback from Sean Payton era players who seemed dissatisfied with the football team, mainly Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara has had a long relationship with Michael Thomas. These guys broke records together while on the New Orleans Saints ever since 2017. We saw Michael Thomas not hold back his criticisms of head coach Dennis Allen and quarterback Derek Carr last year, but in the background, people have been wondering, what does Alvin Kamara think about the head coach? What does he think about quarterback Derek Carr? And we haven't seen him give a direct answer. For those who don't remember, when Michael Thomas was on the couch injured, he was making tweets about Derek Carr's play in a primetime matchup against the Detroit Lions. And currently on Michael Thomas's X profile, he has a pinned criticism of head coach Dennis Allen, saying that we're not yes men, so we're considered cancers, but under a winning coach, we were looked at differently. He also claims his mentality makes quote unquote losers uncomfortable because they've been losing their whole career. Obviously, fans were able to recognize that the loser he's talking about is head coach Dennis Allen. Kamara was asked about Michael Thomas's tweets during midseason, and what he said was quite odd.
I kind of, some of my friends sent me some of it, and I guess, whatever he was tweeting during the game, and I ain't really, I mean, Mike is Mike, you know what I'm saying? So whatever he chooses to tweet in his free time is what he chooses to tweet. I don't know everything that he tweeted, but I've seen a couple, and I wouldn't say that I particularly have a problem with, anything he was tweeting. That's his personal opinion.
Did you talk to him at all?
Who, Mike? Yeah, Mike talk all the time.
Did y'all talk about that?
We talk about a lot of things. We was talking about some real estate.
Kamara is all over the place. First, he says that he didn't see the tweet, his friend sent it to him. And then later on, he says that he's close to Michael Thomas and they talk all the time about all kinds of things. Obviously, one of these things they talk about are going to be Dennis Allen, the Saints, and quarterback Derek Carr. He says he doesn't have a problem with what Michael Thomas said, trying to cloak it as free speech, but it's always a problem when you got a player on the team shading the regime mid-season. That's got to be demoralizing. Kamara occasionally leaks out a cryptic tweet. We have one we're going to talk about that's about head coach Dennis Allen just this past May. But in the final game of the season, when backup quarterback Jameis Winston defied Dennis Allen's orders, did not kneel the football at the end of the game, but instead let his teammate Jamal Williams get a touchdown even though they were lined up in victory formation. The Falcons' former head coach Arthur Smith was pissed off about this. Dennis Allen was pissed off about the fact that Jameis Winston went against the play call, and Alvin Kamara decided to take to Twitter and compliment Jameis Winston, saying, "My naysayer." He's literally complimenting Jameis Winston going against head coach Dennis Allen on Twitter in front of the world to see. In late November during the season, he was asked about getting Derek Carr back after Carr went out with an injury, and his response was very awkward.
He's good to go for this difficult game.
I mean, starting quarterback, so it definitely helps.
So clearly Alvin Kamara is critical of the head coach, not quite sure how he feels about the quarterback. There's been some cryptic things there. Obviously, if you're friends with Michael Thomas, you're likely to be sympathetic to what he had to say about quarterback Derek Carr. We saw Jameis Winston test free agency and join the Cleveland Browns. We saw Michael Thomas get released and is yet to be signed by a team. And everybody has been wondering lately, is Alvin Kamara bought in with the Saints? Is he going to be part of the Saints in 2024? Well, I think he just gave his answer during minicamp today. At first, OTAs were happening in May. Alvin Kamara was completely absent. The main reason why this is such a big deal is because the Saints have a brand new offensive coordinator. You would think Alvin Kamara would want to be there to help learn the new offense quickly. Defensive player, linebacker, and team captain Demario Davis was asked why he considers it important for himself to be at OTAs, and I think his comments contrast a lot with Alvin Kamara's behavior.
I mean, I imagine if you look over at Kansas City, they probably got 100% participation, and they won the Super Bowl. So if all them showing up and we chasing them, you can't miss. I don't think about it no other way.
So Demario Davis is trying to chase perfection, trying to chase the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, which is why there was no question in his mind that he would be at OTAs. When asked about Alvin Kamara's absence at OTAs, head coach Dennis Allen tried to make excuses for the guy, talking about family pulling him in different directions.
You know, obviously Alvin's got a family now, right? So that pulls at him in terms of time commitments and things like that. So I think,
You know, it's like, oh, well, there's different things pulling and this, that. Like, I had a family last year. It's not something that's pulling on me. Like,
Alvin Kamara obviously took to social media like he's done through the vast majority of his career, and he made a tweet about Dennis Allen after these OTA press conferences saying, as a grown-ass man, it's not your job to try and paint a picture for another grown-ass man, especially if you can't paint already. So now he's ripping into Dennis Allen for not being able to paint a Picasso. But he quickly deleted this. Some people were able to screenshot it, and it just made you think, wow, how much do you hate this head coach who is out there talking to the media, making excuses for you as to why you're not at practice, even though it's voluntary still. Like Demario Davis says, you want to chase the champions. Kamara tried to downplay his absences at OTAs, saying it's the same as every year.
during the offseason, I don't look at nothing football related. So what's the noise?
Transition, man. You know, the new offense, trying to get adjusted to it. How's that going?
Was I here last year? During OTA? Anybody can answer that? Was I here last year for OTA? Yeah.
It really isn't the same as every other year because the Saints have a completely different offense than the Sean Payton offense they've been rolling with for over a decade. Plus, Alvin Kamara is technically in the final year of his contract. The Saints frequently restructure contracts, so even though Alvin Kamara is technically on the books for 2025, he has no guarantees in 2025, so the Saints can get rid of him at a low cost. But everything seemed fine for a little bit going into minicamp. Alvin Kamara attended the first few days of mandatory minicamp, and many people thought the drama would all be behind the New Orleans Saints, and perhaps Kamara was just working out on his own during OTAs. Well, that turned out to be complete bullshit. After attending minicamp in the morning, Alvin Kamara abruptly departed practice due to a contract dispute. So Alvin Kamara did not attend OTAs, had friction with the coaching staff, and has decided to now dip out on practice during mandatory minicamp, which is subject to fines, all because he wants more money. Keep in mind, this guy is one of the top paid running backs in the entire NFL at age 29. Kamara has been making roughly the same amount as 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey. And I don't think you can sit here and honestly tell me that Alvin Kamara's production as of late is similar to Christian McCaffrey at all. Even though I will give Kamara the excuse that the Saints offensive coordinator and offensive line was trash last year, still, Kamara had the worst season of his career in rushing yards with only 694. He also had the second worst season of his career in receiving yards with only 466 receiving yards. Those numbers aren't even close to Christian McCaffrey right now, who recently got a contract extension that is going to pay him roughly $17 to $18 million a year. The Saints are obviously not going to pay a 29-year-old running back Christian McCaffrey money, especially if he's coming off one of the worst seasons in his career. It seems like Alvin Kamara knows this is the case, which is why he's making a statement by not attending minicamp, forcing the Saints to do something about it, whether that mean release him or trade him. In my opinion, there are no coincidences. And we saw this morning, right before Alvin Kamara dipped out of practice, the Saints restructured Taysom Hill's contract. Taysom Hill is now going to be fully guaranteed in 2024 and 2025, and the Saints save about $6 million in cap space by restructuring him. And we've seen Taysom Hill play a lot of running back during minicamp and OTAs. Could Taysom Hill fill that role as a pass-catching running back, which is the role that Alvin Kamara is supposedly supposed to fill? Perhaps Kamara's camp was disappointed to see Taysom Hill get that restructure rather than Alvin Kamara, and maybe this is the plan for the Saints, to incorporate Taysom Hill as the receiving back if they know that Kamara isn't happy. Personally, I think Taysom Hill as more of a full-time running back would be absolutely insane, and it would really keep the defense on their toes because you never know if this guy is going to just straight up throw the football. Derek Carr has been speaking positively about the New Orleans Saints offense this year, and he also said this is one of the best off seasons he's he's been a part of, and he's really proud of the work everyone put in. And I would not be surprised if the Saints do better without Alvin Kamara. We saw the offense improve towards the end of the year once Michael Thomas was not in the building. Maybe, just maybe, the Saints will improve on their 9-8 record, which tied the Bucs in the NFC South. All they have to do is get rid of some of the naysayers. They still have tons of playmakers on the offensive side of the football. They've completely revamped their offensive line, and Derek Carr is a sleeper, underrated quarterback who has proven throughout his career that if you keep him healthy, if you keep him upright, he can deliver and perform like a top 10 quarterback. With the added cap space after restructuring Taysom Hill, hopefully the Saints go out there and sign the former Raiders wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. And we'll see what happens with Alvin Kamara. I'm predicting the guy gets traded or cut before the start of training camp. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.